Okay, in this video, we're going to convert fractions to decimals. One of the most requested videos in all of math. Students want to know how do you change fractions to decimals, or even to percents, or how do you change decimals to fractions. So let's take a look at two basic fractions here, like 1/2 is what as a decimal, and 1/5 is what as a decimal. So I think many of you already know that 1/2 is 0.5, and maybe you already know that 1/5 is 0.2. But what if you didn't know? How do you do this? Well, if this was 10 divided by 2, the answer is 5. 10 divided by 2, the answer is 5. But it's not 10, it's 1.0, because 1 over 2 that makes this 0.5. What you could do is you could take 1 and divide it by 2. And then you say, well, 2 doesn't go into 1, but 2 goes into 10 5 times. 5 times 2 is 10. So therefore, 1/2 is 0.5. 1/5, you would do the same thing. 1 divided by 5, and then you add your 0.0. 5 doesn't go into 1, but 5 goes into 10 2 times. 2 times 5 is 10. And so the answer is 0.2. Okay, now let's look at some other common fractions like 1/4 and 3/4. So if you know 1/2 is 0.5, which is the same thing as 0.50, 1/4 is 1/2 of 1/2. So 1/2 of 0.50 is 0.25. And I think most of you know that 1/4 is 0.25, which is 1/4, 0.25, 25%, 1/4. And then you know that 3/4 is 3 times that. 3 times 25 is 75. So that's 0.75. This is 3/4, sometimes referred to as 3/4. 3/4 of a dollar, 75 cents, 0.75. And then on your fifth side, you have 2/5 is twice the 1/5, so that would be 2 times 0.2. 3/5 would be 3 times the 1/5, that would be 0.6. And 4/5 would be 4 times 0.2, that would be 0.8. Okay? Now, what if you wanted to know what are those as percents? Well, this is 20% multiplied by 100 to change to a percent. This would be 40%. And then 0.6 times 100 would be 60%. And the 0.8 times 100 is 80%. So that means that 4 out of 5, if you were to get 4 out of 5 on a quiz, that's an 80%. You would score an 80. If you get 3 out of 5, then that's a 60%. If you get 2 out of 5 on this quiz, that's a 40%, and you better go watch this quiz again. Okay, let's take a look at some more fractions. What about your eighths? 1/8, 3/8, 7/8, 5/8. I'm not going to do the even eighths. 2/8 is 1/4, and 4/8 is 1/2, and 6/8 is 3/4, and we already did those. So what is 1/8 as a decimal? So you could take 1 and divide it by 8, and you're going to have 1 times 8, that's 8, 2, bring down 20, 8 into 20 goes 2 times 8 is 16, and then you're going to have 4, 40, 5 times 8 is 40, so it'd be 0.125. Now this number here is half of 0.25. Remember that 1/4 was 0.25. And 1/8 is 1/2 of 1/4. So if you take half of 250, that's 0.125. Okay? So if you know 1/8 is 0.125, then what is 3/8? 3/8 would be 0.125 times 3, which would be 0.375. What is that as a percent? multiply by 100, that would be 37.5%. What about 7/8? Well, if 1/8 is 0.125, 7/8 would be 1 minus this. 1 minus 0.125, 1 minus 0.125 is 0.875. As a percent, that would be 87.5%, because you multiply by 100 to change the percent. So if you get 7 out of 8 questions right on a quiz or test, you'll get 87.5% rounded up to 88. You would get an 88. What's 5/8? Well, if you know that 3/8 is 0.375, 3/8 plus the 5/8 is 1. So I would subtract 1 minus the 0.375, and that would give you 0.625, or 62.5%. Okay? And so now you know your eighths. So if you know 1/8, you can figure out the rest: 3/8, 5/8, 7/8, whatever you need. You know your fourths, you know your fifths. Let's do some of the other more common fractions like 1/3 and 1/9. Those will be repeating decimals. So let's take a look at the repeating decimals. Okay, so I want to see if you can do 1/3, 1/6, and 1/9. So how would you do that? Well, you might already know that 1/3 is repeating threes, 0.3333, and that is correct. But what if you didn't know that these are repeating threes, sometimes written as 0.3 with the bar on top, meaning it's repeating threes? Well, then you would take 1 and divide it by 3. 1 over 3 is 1 divided by 3, so you're going to have 0. 3 into 10 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. And you subtract, you get 1. Bring down a 0 here. And 3 into 10 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. And this continues, and it just continues going on. So it's repeating threes. So now that you know 1/3 is repeating threes, can you figure out what is 1/6 and what is 1/9? Well, if you take half of 1/3, that's 1/6. So we have to take half of 0.333 repeating. How do you do that? Well, 0.3 repeating are odd numbers, and if you're going to take half, it's not as obvious. So let's do 1 divided by 6, because after all, that's what we're trying to do here. 1/6 is going to be 1 divided by 6. Let's make that 1.0. 6 into 1 is 0, and then 6 into 10 you have 1. 1 times 6 is 6. Then you have 4. Bring down the 0. 6 into 40 goes 6 times. 6 times 6 is 36. And I have that remainder 4 again. Bring down another 0. And you see it's going to be repeating 6's here. So this is going to be 0.166, repeating 6's. Okay. What about 1/9? 1/9, isn't that 1/3 of a third? So if I take 0.33 repeating divided by 3, I would get 0.111 repeating. Okay. I mean, you could do 1 divided by 9 to get 1/9. If you weren't sure on taking 1/3 of 1/3, you're going to have 9 into 10 goes 1. 1 times 9 is 9. And you have 1. Bring down a 0. 9 into 10 is 1. 1 times 9 is 9. And you start seeing the same pattern over and over, so you get repeating once. So that means this is correct. Okay. Okay, so we'll finish off this lesson with other common fractions like 1/10, 1/20, 1/40, and 1/50. Now, we already did 1/5, and we know that that's 0.2. And so 1/10 is going to be half of that, so it's going to be 0.1. 0.1 is 1/10. Or you can just divide 1 divided by 10. You're going to get 0.1. 1/20th is half of the 0.1. You know that 1/2 is 0.5. 1/20th means you divide the 1/2 divided by 10. So that means you move the decimal over to the left. So instead of being at 0.5, you have 0.05, which is actually half of the 0.10. You have 0.05. What about 1/40th? It'll be half of this. If that's 0.050, this will be 0.025. Remember that 1/4 is 0.25. And then a factor of 10, when you divide by 10, you move over to decimal to the left one more place. 1/5 was 0.2. And then divide by 10, the 0.2 becomes 0.02. And so these are common fractions. And if you have any questions or comments, leave the comments below. And make sure you subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And thanks for watching.